It is indeed the day of WrestleMania 41 as I do speak to you. As you can hear, my voice is totally gone. It's totally ruined. But essentially, I'm out here in Las Vegas for What Culture Wrestling. Make sure you go subscribe to them, and please do subscribe to me as well for all your updates and all your content. But yeah, I flew in on Tuesday. Then I basically had lots of wrestling before we moved on to making content, and my poor voice got totally destroyed. But we keep on talking anyway, especially because a few hours ago I did watch Smackdown here in Las Vegas, and I just thought there were some interesting elements that maybe we'll get into, maybe we won't. But obviously the big thing I did want to talk about is the John Cena, Cody Rhodes angle, which many people are now saying is what we should have done sort of 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. I don't necessarily think that is true. Maybe there are elements we could have taken on this and put there just to sort of keep the... Well, some people clearly have thought that this wasn't as intense or as fun or as exciting as they assumed that it would be. For me, just getting to see John Cena as a heel has been the funnest thing that wrestling has done in a long old while, just because I never thought that I was going to see it happen. So I took a lot of worth away from that. I took a lot of, well, once again, excitement away from that. So just seeing him be horrible to the fans was enough for me. But this was a total different kettle of fish because Cody Rhodes comes out and he is over to begin with. People are cheering, people are happy. I think we got the Cody Rhodes song, but I can't remember. John Cena interrupts instantly, and even the commentators are like, how dare he do this? What a horrible human being. But then John Cena just goes off on this guy. Basically says, like, you know, you think you want to be somebody, but I'm going to make you somebody. I'm going to win that championship. I'm going to take it away. You have nothing that you can sort of threaten me with because I am going to retire. I'm not like all these other insecure loser wrestlers. And basically, what do you do to a man who already knows that he's going to die? I've seen that fear. I've looked it in the face. So Cody Rhodes, you have got absolutely nothing. And basically, you suck. Now, you have to go and watch this John Cena promo. I'm not going to be able to do it justice. The only thing it was missing was fine speech, kid, which of course is what John Cena did used to say before he cooked people. I presume that's why we waited until 2 days before WrestleMania to do this one, because it just landed so many shots on Cody to the point the crowd did start to boo when Cody Rhodes had the microphone. Now, there's nothing wrong with that over WrestleMania weekend. There's nothing wrong with that ever. I think we've talked about this before here on the channel. Somebody getting booed that's not meant to be booed it doesn't work if it happens in wrestling all of the time. And that was the problem with Roman Reigns that long period. Before he came the head of the table, it just got a little bit dull because you have the office, or management as we call them, booking a character one way, and then you have the fans treating them another way. And it's like, why is this not lining up? Who is not listening to the other person? And of course, if you paid your hard-earned money, you'll have to cheer and boo whoever the flub you want. So it should be up to WWE or AEW or Ring of Honor, New Japan, to then make the necessary amendments, and we didn't do it. Whereas now, we know that Cody Rhodes is one of the most over baby faces for a long old time. It's been going on for the last few years. He sells merchandise, he sells gate receipts. Do you know what I mean? He makes the company money, which is what a good babyface is meant to do. But in this moment, with a more hardcore crowd, which is usually what WrestleMania does bring in, everyone was like, again, probably like I've been thinking, John Cena, what a wonderful thing we're experiencing here. As he is the villain, we can just have some fun. And that's what they were doing, as my voice totally goes. And I want to say this as well as I can, because I don't know Cody Rhodes, not my friend or anything, but I think we can all sort of take an educated guess. He knows what to do in this situation. He's not an idiot. He didn't start hearing these boos like, oh, I don't know what to do. And even if that did happen, again, I don't think it would happen to Cody. But even if it did happen to somebody else, it doesn't matter because wrestling is meant to be fun. I never want it to be all of the same. And in fact, I kind of like this sort of thing happening over WrestleMania weekend because it makes WrestleMania feel more special. It's like next year or the year after that, when we do start going into the show of shows, or who is going to get booed, who is going to get cheered. Like if we did The Rock versus Roman Reigns all those years ago, you know, I mean, Roman Reigns was getting booed anyway, but what would have been, maybe The Rock would have been booed then too, because like Roman Reigns was doing a good job. And I think that's mainly why John Cena got cheered here. He cut a great promo, and he was evil, and he was vicious, and he was horrible, and he said some things, I wouldn't have said that were true, but they hit hard and they were relatively funny, right? They had a sort of certain humor to them. They were relatively amusing. But then Cody Rhodes just unleashes on this guy. Says, yes, you do bury talent, and if you want, I can go get a list. But it was when he went to the internet quips that I think really set people off. One of which, I know this because I checked on Ups and Downs. We had a few people in the audience that were, well, you know, younger than, not most wrestling fans, but probably wouldn't understand a 1997 deep cut, and they didn't get it. But that almost is probably one of the reasons, again, the older, more into it fan was responding with cheers because they understood, and all of a sudden they felt like part of a special club. But he said the whole melting wax candle face thing, which I have seen on the internet before, and I never really understood. He said like a neck, like a roll of dimes. But the big one, we shouldn't skip over it, but the big one was, you know, you have no tan, I'm paraphrasing, I'm getting it wrong, like Sting at Starrcade 1997 in WCW, which was a Huge story, again, if you're a massive geek like I am, because essentially we'd done the whole NWO and Sting storyline. We'd built a Starrcade, which was essentially WCW's WrestleMania, and everyone just thought Sting was going to be in the ring and win the championship. We hadn't seen Sting sort of in a proper match in probably, a year by that point, if not a bit longer. And it was a classic Hulk Hogan, it doesn't work for me, brother. Said something about Sting having a bad tan, which proves he wasn't mentally. It was an absolute bust. Go watch it if you have to. It's terrible. It really is. It would be the equivalent, really, of Cody Rhodes and John. No, that's not the same. Of Jey Uso versus Gunther on a lesser level, to be fair. Ending with, an eagle coming in and distracting Gunther. Just stupid, just bad. Should never have happened. But it was wonderful that he did do that. And again, it wasn't just that. It was the way he delivered it. It was the cadence in his voice. He put some bass deep down in his throat. And then, as soon as he was done, we got the Cody Rhodes. And he was back being a babyface. And I do hope that happens later as well. Even if he's not able to do it on night 2 because he doesn't have a microphone. And it's more difficult sometimes when you do it with your wrestling. Because again, Cody Rhodes isn't also going to bust out a move you're not expecting, and nor should he. So we kind of have, once again, assumptions what they will do. But Cody is good enough, and so is John Cena, to work with that. They would have discussed it already. And I just think, again, from an entertainment standpoint, it makes it more fun. And that's all I ever want from wrestling. And I don't think any wrestler should ever take something personally, unless obviously it's being personal. But in this situation is the example that I'm pulling from. It was just people being like, it's John Cena, man, and it's his last WrestleMania. He just told us this is his last WrestleMania, so we're going to serenade him, even if he turns around and says, I hate all of you, and I'm going to murder your family. So really, really good segment, really, really exciting, really fun to watch. It did end with John Cena hitting a cheap shot and saying, I don't have to wrestle you to win, and going for the AA, but Cody Rhodes was able to reverse it. He lays him up the crossroads the second time he has done that. So I go back to my predictions on Monday. John Cena is winning that match on Sunday. And if he doesn't, I think it's silly, I think it's stupid. We have laid the groundwork for John Cena to cheat, probably with The Rock, and for Cody Rhodes to be like, well, I got absolutely done there. And I do believe Austin will come out after the match is over to send people home happy. But on paper, John Cena being the world champion is a bad guy, is a massive tick box, even though I am a huge Cody Rhodes fan. So easily the best thing about Smackdown, although Seth Rollins is probably a close number 2. I mean, he really went in the whole CM Punk came back for the fans. No, fans again. No, he didn't. He went somebody else, round 1. He ran out of money there, or he fell out with the boss there. He came back to WWE because he wanted more money. It has nothing to do with you. Talks about Roman Reigns, talked about the fact the Shield were brought in by Paul Heyman to protect CM Punk, which was sort of basically the story back then. And then eventually, obviously, it was Seth Rollins that kept sacrificing. And Roman went off and did his own things. And CM Punk left the company. And even last year at WrestleMania 40, Seth Rollins sacrificed his dead knee. Don't forget, he was away for 2 months after that. And even though his stepdad had cancer, I think, he still went to WrestleMania because he knew that Roman Reigns must be taken down. And that's why Seth Rollins has to win this match. Again, that's very much a condensed version. Probably one of the best promos Seth Rollins has ever cut. He did it in the pipe bomb position just to throw some extra shade at CM Punk. And he was kind of dressed like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. I think they've lent so hard into it. And he did sit next to Paul Heyman at the Hall of Fame ceremony too. But I think we've lent so hard into it now that WWE, rightfully so, has probably seen some of the chatter on the internet. Thought, well, we can lean into this. And again, that is what you should be doing. But it's also added real jeopardy to that match. I would still imagine that CM Punk will win, thanks to Paul Heyman. But maybe Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman do come together. He gets a big win, which Seth Rollins does deserve. And if Jey Uso is going to win that title, which he probably is, you could do a Seth Rollins versus Jey Uso program, which is just so fresh and so original. It's going to make me feel warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum. The rest of SmackDown, again, I'm sort of skirting over here, like I say. But I want to just focus on the things that have been a bit wishy-washy, which is fine, it happens. But the Chelsea Green, Zelina Vega, it was a 6-person, then also had the singles, and Zelina Vega won, and I don't think there's going to be a US title shot over the weekend, but even if there is, why did we add it so late? The Street Profits title shot ended with DIY just running in, so that was a bit like, oh man, we're doing the same thing over and over. They're going to do a TLC match, but it's on next week's SmackDown, and that's great that it's after WrestleMania, because those shows are big. But just do it at WrestleMania. I just find that very, very strange. I don't really get it. And then you had the LA Knight versus Solakoa match, which again is a distraction, and it turned into a tag match of Braun Strowman and whoever the LA Knight taking on Solakoa and Tama Tonga. Was it Jacob Fatu? I can't remember. The whole point, everyone is just running in. It's a very old WWE thing to do. And listen, LA Knight did get the win in that tag team match, so maybe Jacob Fatu is going to win the title. But the whole one match ends and the GM comes out and says, oh, no, we're going to do a tag team match, kind of feels played out. And it kind of doesn't feel like something that, again, new WWE would do. So I thought that was, I don't want to say it was a shame. My favourite sort of post or go home Raw or SmackDowns are always the ones where we're kind of totally focused on the show. actually makes more, it does make sense spending 3 hours to make sure you planted some seeds, such as Aleister Black, who I do believe will be on the Smackdown this Friday. But it just makes you question, well, why aren't the Smackdown tag team titles good enough to be on WrestleMania? I think that does land with you a little bit, where subconsciously you don't think they're as important. Same with the US title of Chelsea Green. Oh, okay, we're just not doing it on WrestleMania, the Super Bowl of WWE. Maybe we can take something away from that. The Randy Orton thing, I think, is very exciting. Comes out nice and simple. It's going to do an open challenge day 2. I tweeted this out, Simon at 316. I'll do it. I'll take on Randy Orton. I'm in Vegas. I leave the stadium. It's 5 minutes that way. Don't think it's going to happen if you do get your hopes up. And there is this wonderful fantasy storyline that Kevin Owens wasn't really injured, and this is all part of the plan. And I think it's good that WWE can make you question that with the storylines. But I don't want it to get to a point where we're sort of using personal things either, because you can blur the lines. But if it is, I think it works in this instance. But I do personally, I think Kevin Owens is it. I think it could be Rusev, who has, Big E announced on a panel recently that he has come back. So excited about that. One of my favorite wrestlers of the modern day. I don't think it matters if Rusev loses if you come up with a good idea for it. Again, that's something for creative. But Randy Orton does need to win. It could be a Nick Aldis, it could be a Solakoa, even though that may feel a little bit lame's unfair, because I love Solo, but I think when you have a mystery opponent, people expect somebody big. And it could be a Jeff Cobb, who left New Japan last night, or was it tonight, one of the nights, but he could be zooming through to WWE right now. We just don't know. But as long as Randy Orton gets the win, because he is, changed my fantasy booking from the other day, I kind of think, given that Randy Orton's face is on the Backlash poster, and Backlash is from St. Louis, which is where he was from, maybe one more last time we are going to do John Cena, the champion, taking on Randy Orton, the babyface, which is going to be hilarious, because Randy Orton's even bigger now than he was when Cena and Orton had that feud sort of 10 years ago. It's going to be an odd size discrepancy, which is going to be interesting, but that bit is exciting. So it was definitely, ironically, an up and down episode of SmackDown. It felt to me like the things that aren't going to go on WrestleMania didn't really hit. And then most of the things that were a little bit better, although the Rey Mysterio thing, I don't know what's going on there. They did a 6-man tag after the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. That was the exception. Carmelo Hayes won that, and there was some nice story beats in there. So that was good. But it's interesting because there was a 6-man tag, American Made taking on Rey Fenix and his boys. Rey Mysterio was outside for a long time. Now, I found it interesting, because obviously it was meant to be Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano at WrestleMania. But early in the night before this match, which set up the 6-man tag, it was El Grande Americano that had taken out Rey Fenix. So if all of a sudden WWE said, well, now it's going to be Rey Fenix taking on El Grande Americano, which would make sense, kind of makes me think, has Rey Mysterio worked us all? Goes back to what I was just talking about. Those are the things you do want to blur the lines on, because it keeps things interesting and you keep you guessing. And I actually think personally, just because of his legacy, Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, or Chad Gable, is the more interesting match. But Rey Fenix is brand new, a big win on WrestleMania, isn't going to harm him at all. And he's very, very talented, as is Chad Gable, El Grande Americano. So I think we can make that one work. So interesting SmackDown. But I said this on my live ups and downs last night. Make sure you check it out. We did it in like an arena, which is super different. So definitely know what you think of that. Everybody that I've talked to, and of course it's going to be different when you're out here because of the atmosphere and the heat, my gosh. But they're pumped for WrestleMania, and that's the job of all the pre-shows. Are you excited? Do you want to see it? And as I keep saying, I think this is going to be a journey. So excuse me, I got it wrong every time. I think this one's going to be a destination WrestleMania. So the journey, yeah, okay, we didn't really get there as smoothly as we wanted to, but coming out the other side, everything was as it was meant to be, and we're excited for the project going forward. I'm gonna have to rest my voice now. Sorry this video is a little bit stripped back, but again, I am such a crazy schedule. I don't want to get no content up, and I will see you again later when we review WrestleMania Night 1. But like the video, share the video, subscribe. Just interact with everything you can. There's a bunch of links down there for supplements. Use those codes, Simons. And come say hello to me if you can. Also, thank you very much to everyone that sent me a message saying, Simon, I can't believe you lost your Progress Proteus title. I did. 7 defenses, 1 loss. I think 191 days as champion. But I've said it once and I'll say it again, although not true, because I've never had a championship like that before. I am going to win it back.